it is a real community feel, and I can vouch for that. It's anywhere you go, there's people there that do a similar job, and to have a chat is really cool. I know that you can sort of lean on people and catch up with people, and they're very very receptive around the world. So I think the elevator community sort of crosses all borders. It's a really we're really lucky to be in it. I mean, and my business partner and I have gone to all parts of the globe almost, and gone into test towers and whatever else, and always been, it's been unbelievable, the reception.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today our guest is Richie Lobert, founder and co-director of LML Lift Consultants in Melbourne, Australia. Richie has been in the industry for many years, starting right out of high school, and has traveled the world, working on and with elevators as a mechanic, engineer, and consultant. Richie is a true Lifty, as they say in Australia. He loves the elevator industry and has met many amazing people from all over the world. He's grateful for the global elevator community and the richness it has brought to his life, and he finds a lot of satisfaction bringing his gifts and insights to this amazing industry. Well, Richie, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Matt, and it's an absolute honor to be talking with you.
Thank you. Likewise. No, I think we've known each other online and seen bits and pieces for quite a while, and obviously you're from the land down under, so haven't had a chance to rub shoulders yet, but you never know when.
Well, I'm privileged to be the first one from the land down under, I guess. So that's great.
Yep. So let's just start with my favorite question, which is tell me how you got started in the elevator industry.
Yeah, sure. And not dissimilar to many of your other guests as well. I had no idea what the elevator industry was all about, to be honest. I basically finished school, and I was keen on starting an electrical apprenticeship. That was my sort of direction, and I basically sort of looked through a newspaper back then, giving away my age. And yeah, Conne Elevators were advertising for apprentices. Obviously, I applied and was lucky enough to be shortlisted. But and that was the start of the journey. Really, I was really blessed to be selected there. And like most apprentices, I guess I started in the construction side of the business. But I was really fortunate because I started on the building I started on was a high-rise building that was basically just concrete. So I got to see the whole process from start to finish. It started with putting in rails and all the mechanical side of things, which was great. And it led into the electrical side, and right till the end, till I was tuning the lifts that I put in. So a massive learning curve, and it was really, really great.
It's really what you were looking for, it sounds like, is give me a big challenge and let me dive in head and heels and everything.
Yeah, and that's what sort of within 5 minutes, I love the industry basically. Apart from the initial shock of getting into a lift well 50 floors up as a kid basically, but I just loved the fact that you could do mechanical, electrical, and everything in between. It had so much to offer, and still does have a lot to offer. And,
So were you coming right out of high school? Were you in college? What was the your status?
Yeah, I finished school, and I sort of had to make a decision where to go from there. But I was always keen on doing something in a trade sort of area. At high school, the way it worked here, you could do a couple of subjects that sort of led you into that direction. So I did a little bit of electrical and had some sort of understanding of maybe that's the area that I want to go into. And just ended up going straight after school and starting an apprenticeship. and did a whole lot of other things along the journey in terms of extra schooling at night school and things like that. So really loved it.
Cool, cool. So you, like you say, kind of coming out of high school, really haven't even picked a profession at that point. Just find the ad, and what did it say? Essentially, apprentice, mechanic, or electrical, or what was it that?
That the ad was electrical apprentice, and I really didn't know. I had to do my research in terms of, hey, what's the elevator industry all about?
Right.
I actually didn't really know anyone in it. Only found out later that some friends of friends were in it, but I really had no understanding of the industry. But was absolutely lucky to land in it, and I've been in the industry ever since. And it's been 32 odd years or something like that, and I've really enjoyed it. I've never wanted to do anything else. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How long were you like in the field? Actually working on tuning, like you say, or adjusting elevators.
Yeah, so my first stint with Conne in the field was about 10 years or so, and I basically covered all areas, all the different departments in the field. As I said, construction first, and then into service and modernisation. I mean, I loved it so much, I even did many, many years of night calls. I couldn't get enough of it during the day. So I'd be out on call at night time as well. And, I'd, after many years of doing that, I sort of, I found out that if you leave your boots on when you go to bed, your phone stops ringing. So that was, that took a few years to learn, but just, yeah, really enjoyed it. And then sort of came to the conclusion that, once you can fix a lift or service a lift or repair a lift, you can basically, that's a skill set that's transferable across the globe. So after about sort of, 10 years or so with Conne, I decided to travel Europe. I was married at the time, and we were traveling through Europe, and
When you
my
say
wife was,
traveling, I mean, were you backpacking, biking, hiking, or I mean, I'm just curious because I have,
yeah.
some friends that are like, oh, I'm going to go hike through Europe. I'm like, really?
It was a little bit of all of the above. I really had no plans at all. And there was some hiking involved. There was a bit of, catching up with friends involved. But basically, and my wife was really keen on having a good holiday experience. I was more keen on finding some work. So I
Okay.
was determined to get over there and land a job on the other side of the world. I do have a German background, so I was looking, in that part of the world to try and test the waters over there. But yeah, traveling around, and I was in a ripped up t-shirt with some shorts, and I'd put a shirt in the backpack because I knew that there was a few interviews that were sort of loosely planned and stuff like that. So I'd stop every now and then and talk to someone and see if there was any work around. But yeah, it sort of it all worked out well. It was interesting. I was in Bavaria somewhere, and as you do, had a several wheat beers under the belt, and walked out of the pub I was in and saw an elevator van parked there on the street and had a chat, and they were really interested and said, when can you start? And I said, well, probably not now. I've had a few drinks, but yeah, so it sort of it was
Let me get
interesting how it
sober
all
first,
worked.
and then I'll come work on your.
Absolutely, but yeah. So and then I had some interviews in Austria and a few more in Germany, but I landed a gig in Switzerland.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So yeah, I
So
ended
what
up
was,
doing
I mean, I'm
troubleshooting there.
just curious, having kind of traveled the world. I mean, it sounds like the elevator community is alive and well in Europe as much as in the States. I've not been to Australia, but to be able to bump into somebody on the street and say, hey, you know, you and me, we're on the same team. What was that reception like? I mean, it sounds like the mechanic or whoever you were talking to was like, yeah, hey, come talk to my boss or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really cool industry, and the people in it are really cool. And I've heard it on your podcast before from others that it is a real community feel, and I can vouch for that. It's anywhere you go, there's people there that do a similar job, and to have a chat is really cool. I know that you can sort of, lean on people and catch up with people, and, they're very, very receptive around the world. So I think the elevator community sort of crosses all borders. It's a really, we're really lucky to be in it. I mean, and my business partner and I have gone to all parts of the globe almost, and gone into test towers and whatever else, and always been, yeah, it's been unbelievable, the reception and the
It's
hospitality.
amazing to me. Just that there is such a tight community and just kind of an understanding of, okay, we understand each other, at least a good bit of each other just because of what we do.
100%. And if any of your listeners are in Australia at any given time, just look me up and drop in. But I did have someone the other day look me up, and they said, let's catch up. And they were in Brisbane somewhere, and I'm in Melbourne. And I said, yeah,
Right.
that would work, but it's about a 3-day drive or something like that. It's quite a big place. So just
Sure.
look me up in the right part of Australia. That's all.
Yeah. That's very cool. So it sounds like that kind of opened up the world of elevators to you, just that little uh I guess a vacation in a sense, but it became kind of a working vacation. How long did you spend in Europe that time?
Close to 3 years, and I was mainly doing troubleshooting, but also sort of helped out in the repairs department. And
Hmm.
yeah, it was a real great learning curve, and it sort of tested out the German. I was a little bit rusty, but it was, yeah, an amazing experience. And yeah, and then sort of came back to Australia with starting a family and everything else that comes with it. So and then did a few different gigs here, straight back into Conne at this end, and then ended up doing some modernisation sales at Otis, and moved across to Schindler. Met the business partner at Otis. He was there at the time, and actually both moved across to Schindler, and then, yeah, decided to start consulting our own
Yeah.
business probably 11 years ago or so. Yeah.
So how you had been so at about 20 something years when you decided to get into consulting?
Something like that. And it's the business is growing, and we've got some amazing people. And someone said recently, or it's been said before, why didn't you start something like this sooner? But it's sort of a journey, like it's
Mm.
you need to really know a lot or a little about a lot, or other way around. But yeah, to be exposed to all the different equipment, all the different companies and processes and things like that, it's been part of the journey that sort of led us to this point. So it's nothing you can really change or do any sooner. But
Sure. You can't just start out from high school and, hey, I'm going to consult on something I don't know anything about. So walking
yeah,
that path, spending the 20 something years doing that, what was it that led you to that decision that, hey, I'm gonna start a consulting firm?
that's a really good question. So as I said, Dean Morgan, my business partner, and I were at Schindler at the time. I was sort of doing a lot of modernisation presentations, and he was doing sales presentations. So we spent a lot of time together presenting to clients, and thought, this is something we could consider doing ourselves, but in the consulting world. Everyone basically was coming to us for advice and things like that anyway at that point in time, and we did know a lot of people. Um, and I think we just wanted it was all about the challenge. It was never about starting a business or making money. It was about the challenge. It was about helping clients, which was no different to our normal approach before any of this started. Um, and yeah, it was about just trying things a little bit different to how other consultants were doing it at the time. We were dealing with consultants on the other side of the fence, of course, and no disrespect intended, but we just wanted to try things a bit different, and implement some new technologies, and do things different to how it was being done. Really make a go of it. So that's how it sort of came about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me, in what ways is your work different? And you mentioned technology, but
Yeah.
elaborate on that a little bit, if you will. What is it that kind of sets you apart, or at least that you focus on in a way that you feel like is different?
Sure. Um, Look, in summary, it has to start with our people. We've got an amazing team. All of our consultants are what we call lifties over here, so the old school people that have come through the field with plenty of experience across all the different companies and equipment. So, we have a lot to offer there. But in
Hold,
terms
hold
of
on,
what's
hold on. Can you identify or just define lifties a little bit? Does that mean that they started as mechanics, or how do you join the lifties club?
Yeah, I'm one of those. Yeah, so it's basically, you've come through and done an apprenticeship,
Okay.
and come through the industry on the tools, turning a
Okay.
wrench and comfortable in a lift shaft. And yeah, come through different parts of the business and industry as well. So through, management positions eventually. And
Okay.
yeah, we've got a guy in our team, for example, was 40 years as the national Otis engineering manager. And we've got
Wow.
people that were training managers at Conne and TK and things like that. So you bring all that together in the same room. I've sat in this. I'm downstairs in the training room. I've sat in this room before one of our safety days where we bring everyone in from around the country, and you look around the room thinking, wow, it's like 475 years of combined industry experience, and
It's beautiful.
that means that we're old, but it also means that there's a lot of knowledge in the room, and it's going to be a shame when you lose some of that, as some of the people do leave the industry as well. So, yeah, they are definitely old school lifties. But in terms of how we do things different, we sort of, yeah, we look at what we do as evolving. We're always reviewing our documentation. When we go on site, we capture the data using an app, so we get the precise information every time, and we save that to the cloud and photographic records to the cloud. And we have portals that we set up for our clients and some of our major clients. We also we implemented something pretty cool. We go to Interlift as well as part of our sort of
Sure.
global reach and see what's going on in the world and the new technologies and the like. But yeah, we sort of bumped into an organisation a few Interlifts ago, and they were developing a ride quality app. So,
Okay.
most people would know the PMT device or machine. That's basically a box that you carry around to measure ride quality of lifts. Um, this is sort of that next generation, which is just an app on an iPhone, and we sort of help, provide those guys with plenty of data out of Australia, given that we've got more high-rise and high-speed lifts than they had over there in Germany. And now they're sort of on the second generation of that. So it's basically an app that you go into a lift and you ride it up and down from inside the car,
Sure.
and it provides you with a whole heap of data, and that's done with every maintenance audit that we do, which is
Wow.
which is our bread and
It's
butter.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sort of gives you really, really good data in terms of levels of vibration and in the three axes and acceleration type data, and then you can pinpoint any issues. So it's really handy, and we're always looking for things like that that are just a little bit next generation to how things used to be done. I think you do need to move, with the times a bit, and even in our team now, where we've employed some younger mechanical engineers
Hmm.
to sit in amongst the mix, and you can learn from everyone. It's a really cool thing.
Yeah. That's amazing that you can track ride quality with a phone. I mean, I know they have accelerometers in phones, but had never really considered that it can sense and detect and report on, like you say, the vibrations in all three axes as it goes up.
Yeah, and how that sort of came about a little bit was, we'd be traveling around Australia and New Zealand carrying this PMT box, and
Right.
really, really handy tool. I remember must have been going through the local airport here to go somewhere, and had to sit it through the X-ray machine because I had no idea what it was. And as it came through the machine, they're looking on the screen there at security, and all you could really see is a battery
Sure.
with a coil of wire above it, like something you'd see in the cartoons. And this particular security gentleman thought it might have been a bomb or similar. So asked a lot of questions and asked me to turn it on. And as soon as you turn it on, it says, waiting for trigger or something
Oh,
like that.
wow.
And it went pretty pear-shaped on that day. And I'm pretty sure
Did
he
he,
wanted to chat to me out the back. So
did he slap you in handcuffs, or what was his response
almost,
to that?
almost. So yeah, it's been a handy thing to be able to just carry your phone anywhere you go. I've been known to be overseas on holidays and take a ride quality reading of an elevator because I'm a boring elevator geek. But yeah, things like that. We're always looking at exploring new technologies and doing things differently.
Beautiful. So you, what was it, like a 40-pound box? I mean, if it's got a battery, and I don't know if that's like a car battery. I mean, how heavy was that thing that you were carrying around?
Yeah, when you say 40 pound, it's probably geez, I talk kilos, so it's probably about 5 kilos or something like
Oh,
that.
not
So
not as big as
let's call
I.
it 10 pounds. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
I just envisioned a lawnmower sized box that you're carting
Not
around.
not quite that big. Not quite that big. No, no.
But it does sound like the phone is definitely an upgrade, certainly more convenient. Um,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so do you just put it on the floor and let it ride? And I mean, I'm just curious how that.
Yeah, yeah, it's as simple as that. You basically sit at, I think it's 30 centimeters in front of the car doors on the floor, and you basically ride it up till you get to the top and back down to the bottom, and it spits out a whole lot of useful data. I mean, you can look at things like bearing noises, drive issues, rope issues, rifle sheave issues. The list goes on. So it's a really handy tool. And if we often do annual audits for our big
Mhm.
clients, so suddenly you've got a benchmark of a starting point, and you can see
Sure.
then in the following year or years any changes to that sort of starting point, and then you can
You could
start looking.
almost do that analysis and show it to the building engineer and get yourself a new customer saying, hey, by the way, you've got whatever flat tires and vibrations going on, and um,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool data. If you're as boring as me, it's really cool data.
if you know what you're looking at, right? If you know how to read
Yeah, yeah,
the meter, and I'm sure it sounds like you've got obviously the software to be able to read it and say, hey, at 45 feet, going up, you see this, and then at 65, you got this, and
correct.
or whatever.
Yeah, correct. You can do all that sort of stuff as well. Yes,
That's awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. What are some things that you would say distinguish you from everybody else? Is anything come to mind?
Yeah, so apart from it's again have to reiterate our people. They're just amazing. They go above and beyond for our clients. But I'm talking to you, for example, from our training room here, and we have a lot of people come through here in terms of clients that just want to learn some basics, terminology, or just anything like that sort of that helps them to manage their portfolio of vertical transportation. So I'm not sure who else has a training centre like this in Australia, but yeah, we certainly use this a bit. Where we even have like a bit of a elevator museum, and it's nothing like Steve Cromley, isn't it, in Amesbury? I definitely got to get across there. I really
Yeah.
got to get across there. But we collect stuff like that. So when we've had some apprentices or work experience kids from school come through, and we encourage that, and we can talk to them about, you know, this is a modern lift with a microprocessor, not much to see, versus this thing over here that's just got relays clanking
Sure.
away and stuff like that. So you can see, how that technology has changed over the years, and it's really important, and it's
Yeah.
it's fascinating for some of these people that come through.
And
Um,
you said something a minute ago that kind of caught my attention, and that was that you bring customers to your training room and you train them so that they can manage their portfolio. That seems unique to me, and I don't. Maybe there's others out there educating customers, but um, I
yeah.
hadn't thought that. I assumed it was just to train your own people.
Um, they are trained. It's like we want to give back a bit, to be honest. So
Yeah.
with our clients, we really encourage that because it helps them to manage their portfolio. So if they're talking to a lift company, And, there's a lot of sort of different terminology being thrown around. It just makes their life a bit easier if they understand a basic overview of what they're basically looking at. They might be a electrical or mechanical engineer managing a property, but
Sure.
as we said earlier, no one knows about elevators. It's just a box on a rope. So yeah, it's really good to have the opportunity to train these people, and it really goes down well. And if nothing else, it brings us together with the client face to face, which is something that doesn't happen quite as much these days, particularly post-pandemic type stuff. And you can have a coffee and a bit of a sandwich at the end of it all, and talk through any issues that they have. So yeah, it's been a really, really good thing
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
business as well.
It sounds brilliant, honestly, to educate your customers because you're investing in them. You're essentially paying it forward, and then not only can they manage their things better, but they can obviously they're going to be wanting to come back to you because you're educating, you're giving them a peek under the hood, right?
Yeah,
And saying, hey, you're the one paying the bill, so you might as well know what kind of device you're buying and understand how it compares to some others because you're the one shopping here.
100%. We've even had the lift companies send some, I guess, new sales type people through, or
Hmm.
people from outside the industry that sort of, often you might be thrown in the deep end and suddenly you need to make sales or whatever the case may be. And that's pretty difficult if you don't have an overview of what you're looking at. So we're happy to do that sort of stuff as well, because at the end of the day, we have, with lift companies, I know there's a bit of a love-hate relationship at times between consultants and elevator companies, but at the end of the day, we've got the same clients and we've got the same
Sure.
sort of motivation and direction. We're both trying to help move in the right direction. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you have like a regular schedule of, hey, we're going to teach basics and advanced and on a like every month, or is it more kind of as needed or
It's basically as needed, and we are quite busy, I'll be honest. We've got
okay?
some big national clients that keep us busy, and but we fit it in wherever we can, and whenever a client wants it, we'll make it happen. That's important to us. We love to, in amongst our team, there's some really keen people to share information. As I said earlier, there's people that have spent 30 plus years at Conne, and then the same rules apply across Schindler, TK, and
Sure.
Otis as well. So it, it's important for us to share that knowledge, and I was even thinking of that as a bit of a future thing, when I want to do something different. But yeah, we do really enjoy that side of things. But yeah, probably not enough time to do as much of it as we'd like to.
Sure. Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
What would you say, are some of the trends that you're tracking, maybe some concerns that you're seeing, and what do you see as you look to the future?
Another good question. Something that's probably slightly annoying is we see an influx in what's called inspection visits, which basically, and there's nothing wrong with that, providing there's follow-up at the other end. So we're seeing inspection visits whereby it's almost just a case of ticking a box and being able to get a maintenance schedule off a list.
Mm.
Um, and I'd rather not even see that on the list. I mean, it's so an example would be, we've been to some retail or infrastructure sites with plenty of escalators, and a lot of the escalators would have handrails that need replacing, for example.
Mhm.
And then the client asks us to go through the maintenance records, to see what's been planned or what else. And it turns out that there's been all these inspection visits done, and the handrails have been ticked off the list, but there's been no sort of subsequent follow-up, and that's quite frustrating and annoying for a client, because then it's suddenly an unplanned repair,
Mm.
um,
Sure.
which results in downtime. But by the way, it also results in additional costs to the elevator company, because if it's not planned, then it's suddenly an emergency repair, and it costs a whole lot of extra, and you might have to get equipment in air freighted or something like that. So that's one thing I'm seeing. I'm also seeing a lot more rusting of hoisting ropes that have been
Mm.
left in operation for much longer than they used to be in days gone by. So, and it's really a false economy because again, an elevator company might be planning for the changing of hoisting ropes, and I understand that. But it seems to be dragging on for a long period of time, and that is detrimental to even the profit of the elevator company. It impacts reliability levels. It can affect other areas of the installation. We had a recent example where a drive unit failed because it was full of the rouge, the rope
Mm.
dust that had gone
Sure.
through the unit and things like that. So seeing a bit more of that.
So I think what I'm hearing you saying is proactive maintenance makes everybody a winner, right? And the customer, the contractor, just kind of being proactive about it versus waiting until something breaks is going to cost everybody, and it didn't need to.
100%, 100%. It's going to save the elevator company in the long run, I would think. Um, and you're right. So, I mean, it's a case of we're seeing, if there's a call out, for example, we're often seeing that an inspection visit might be ticked off the list, which is not really a proactive approach to maintenance.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, just trying to sort of follow those trends and make sure that we can all work through them together, really, as an industry. But then we're seeing things like, and I've heard someone else on your podcast talk about IoT.
Sure.
We're all for new technology, 100%. I know that it'll be a good thing in the future. I think currently it's probably still in its early adopter type stage, but it shouldn't replace, for example, a physical visit by a technician that can, visually look and whatever on site is always a step above that. It should sort of enhance the current maintenance regime almost, but yeah, I think that's going to come in a lot more in the future. We've even got here in the training room a working display of a door curtain or a door protection unit, I guess you'd call it over there maybe, that's got IoT built into that. So,
Cool.
the control box that's mounted on the car roof, um, has an accelerometer in it, and it does all those sorts of things, and it's all basically done through the door protection unit. So yeah, all that sort of stuff is great, and it's definitely coming in. So yeah, I think there's a lot of changes moving forward with the technology for sure.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things that don't know where they're going to land. Right, as you're saying, we're still in the development phase, so who knows what that'll look like when it all plays out, and it could be multiple different iterations of how it plays out.
Yeah.
So kind of looking back on your career, and even I guess the question is, what would you say to somebody who's you know looking at maybe getting in, or they're just starting brand new? What advice would you give to them?
You picked a good industry. It's a great industry with plenty of opportunities. What I'd probably say is take it all in. Don't be afraid to ask questions. People in the industry love to share knowledge. They don't just hold it all for themselves. And certainly don't burn any bridges. So if you find yourself moving between companies, don't ever sort of leave on a sour note. It's a small industry, as we've established. Everyone knows everyone. So just keep those lines of communication and doors open in the future, because you never know where you're going to cross paths, and I'm sure you will cross paths with people that you've left from one organisation.
Sure.
You're bound to cross paths somewhere again in the future. Yeah, but certainly, and the other thing is, of course, for me, when I started out, I never wanted to. I was so comfortable in a lift well turning a wrench. That was my happy place. It actually still
Sure.
is. But don't never say never. It's a journey. So basically, start out where you start out from, and then just, if you're happy there, that's great, but just look around in terms of, there'll be opportunities thrown at you, and just see what you think and give it a go. Because when I left the field to move into an office role, really enjoyed it. Really loved the challenge. Every time I loved the challenge, and every time I loved the change, but I didn't like the change at the time because no one likes change. But it's a fabulous industry, and if you've got any questions, reach out and contact us. We'll bore you with some elevator talk, but yeah, it's a really good career that can be made in the industry for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Richie, as we, we're getting closer to our time here, and as we're about to wrap up, um, what else would you like to share with our listeners before we sign off?
What else? Well, if you do find I've said it earlier, didn't I? If you do find yourself in Australia, come and say g'day. But yeah, just I don't know. It's just a really good industry. I've met so many great people. Um, check out. Don't limit yourself just to the local market either. We, as I mentioned earlier, we go to Interlift in Germany, which is on every 2 years, and it's a massive expo. They're all around the world. There's some closer to home, of course, for you guys. We go to China and we go to different test towers around the world. It's really fascinating to see some of this stuff. So just remember, it's a global market, and there's plenty to do and see in it. So yeah, don't forget to do all that sort of stuff, and reach out to people via platforms like LinkedIn. Like I've Ed Riviera, that's a bit of a superstar on LinkedIn. I've reached out and spoken to him, and Chris Goodches and stuff like that. So yeah, reach out and ask people for advice if you need to, or if you find yourself in a bit of a dark place. There's always people out there to sort of lean upon for sure.
It's awesome. Thank you. And I think you've demonstrated that throughout your career by just taking off, going to Europe, and making friends, talking to people, and realizing that there is a community of like-minded people that
Yeah,
can support you, give you a job, give you some advice, give you a kick in the butt, whatever it is you need that day, and
100%,
help you on your way.
100%. And even at Interlift, I bumped into T. Bruce. Just out of the
Sure,
blue one time. John Koshak, I think is that. I
sure.
hope I'm
Yeah,
saying that right.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
you
so
got it.
it's amazing who you see around the world that you sort of recognize from somewhere, or from LinkedIn, or from anywhere, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That is. That is. Well, Richie, thank you for being with me today. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and wish you the best as you continue to do your work.
It's been a pleasure, Matt, and I really do enjoy your podcast. Obviously, I love elevators, but I love people's journey in the industry as well. So yeah, you're doing a great podcast. I really enjoy it. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. You can check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.